Today's unfortunate story is about a William George Bonin. He was born January 8th, 1947, and died February 23rd, the year of 1996. He is also called the Freeway Killer and the Freeway Strangler. He was an American serial killer and sex offender who raped, tortured, and murdered young men and boys between November 1968 and June 1980 in Southern California. He was convicted of 14 murders, but he confessed to 21 and is suspected of even more. Mr. William Bonin's first known murder victim was killed in May year of 1979. Bonin generally operated by luring his victims into the van under the pretense of having consensual sex. He became known as the Freeway Killer because most of his victims' bodies were discovered beside freeways. On many occasions, he was helped by one of his 4 known accomplices. One of them, Vernon Butts, was listed in court as an accomplice for 12 murders. He committed suicide between his trial in the year of 1982. William George Bonin was born in Willimantic, Connecticut on January 8th, 1947. He was the second of 3 sons, and his father, all ill-tempered from World War II veteran who physically abused his wife and children. His mother suffered from severe mood swings and frequented a bingo parlor while her sons remained unattended. She was regarded as having a domineering and emasculating presence in Bonin's early life. In January, the year of 1950, Bonin's father, a compulsive gambler, gambled away their home in Andover, forcing the family to reside in Bonin's maternal grandmother in Willimantic. In spite of his dysfunctional environment, Bonin and his brothers were actively raised Catholic by their parents and baptized according to church doctrine. They attended St. Mary's Catholic School, where staff repeatedly made complaints of Bonin's aggression toward other students, truancy, and other misbehaviors. After riding his bike into a group of young girls, he was briefly placed in juvenile hall. After returning home, he was reportedly more uncooperative toward his parents than before. In September in the year of 1953, Bonin and his older brother, Robert Jr., were placed at the Franco-American School, a Catholic convent in Lowell, Massachusetts. The convent enforced harsh discipline by staff, with extreme assault being commonplace. Bonin recalled nuns forcing him to punch a fence when he misbehaved. Records indicate he was observed to function well in this structured environment. According to witnesses, Bonin was bullied and was once sexually assaulted by an older boy in the year of 1955. According to Bonin, the older boy approached Bonin for sex. Bonin asked the boy to tie his hands behind his back, which he said would allow him to feel secure and less frightened. Bonin was then bound and sexually assaulted. During this time of the convent, neither parent visited Bonin or Robert Jr., and Bonin became worried his parents had died. Bonin learned and was remained at the convent until the year of 1955 in the month of May, when he returned to live with his parents in a home owned by Bonin's maternal grandmother in Mansfield. Until Bonin's first incarceration, the children were left with their maternal grandfather by Bonin's mother, a known child molester who had sexually abused her. She later speculated her father molested his grandsons. Bonin and Paul were also left with Robert Jr., who had received the brunt of their father's abuse, often beat and belittled. his siblings. Largely devoid of consequences and parental supervision, Bonin stole hubcaps, license plates, and metal tags off of vehicles around town. In the year of 1957, he was placed in a juvenile detention center for these and other petty crimes. While incarcerated, Bonin was molested by an adult counselor. Following his release, he sexually fondled his younger brother, Paul. After 6 months, however, Paul informed their mother of Bonin's fondling, and Bonin was forced to sleep in a separate room. Bonin later confessed to molesting young boys and exposing himself to a 10-year-old girl. Upon entering adolescence, he attempted incestuous acts with an older female cousin. Bonin attended North High School in Torrance, where he was regarded as a social outcast. However, Paul later recollected him as an outwardly well-behaved teenager. Bonin was uncomfortable around his peers and is not known to have formed any friendships throughout his adolescence. He spent his time frequenting a local bowling alley. By his teenage years, Bonin held an intense interest in pedophilia, but kept his emerging feelings a secret. His pedestry became the basis of conflict with his mother, leading to frequent arguments. He rarely attempted to interact with girls, but once reluctantly dated a girl named Linda to please his mother. After dropping out of high school in the year of 1966, Bonin molested several neighborhood children. His mother reportedly refused to acknowledge these acts or his escalating antisocial behavior, but frequently worried he would be arrested. She prayed for him and warned him often, much to his frustration. Eventually, she evicted him from their house for undisclosed reasons. Lacking motivation and frequently borrowing money from his parents, Bonin joined the United States Air Force with his mother's encouragement. In December, the year of 1966, he became engaged to Linda, a decision largely determined by Bonin's mother, who felt it would quell his attraction to subsequent boys. During the engagement, he repeatedly told Linda that he had recurring nightmares about sexual assaults and the murder of a young woman. During his military service, Bonin completed a general equivalency diploma and served as a cook for 4 months in Alaska. He was arrested for theft on October 25th, the year of 1967, but the charges were dropped due to his imminent deployment to Vietnam. Bonin served nearly 3 years before receiving an honorable discharge on October 25th, year of 1968, at the age of 21. Upon returning home, he discovered that Linda, who had given birth to their son, had left him to marry another man. The end of their relationship reportedly left him extremely frustrated. Working as a gas station attendant, Bonin returned to Downey to live with his parents, whom he resented for frequently requesting his help. Several family members noted differences in his behavior after his military service, although Bonin refused to explain these changes. On November 17th, the year of 1968, Bonin picked up a 14-year-old Billy Jones in Arcadia while driving his mother's car. Bonin offered to take him home, but he attempted to flee the vehicle in response to Bonin's repeated questions regarding homosexuality. Driving him to a nearby shopping center, Bonin handcuffed and raped him, knocked him unconscious in the process. He then dropped Jones off at a park. Returning home, Jones' mother promptly reported Bonin to police. On November 26, Bonin picked up a 70-year-old hitchhiker named John Treadwell of Torrance. Bonin began asking him about fags and homosexuality before accelerating the vehicle and producing a handgun. Bonin parked in a secluded area. He then raped Treadwell and bludgeoned him with a tire iron. Bonin threatened that he had friends who would aid in avenging him if Treadwell told the man what had happened. By this point, extensive reports were made by local police to locate a potential serial rapist that fit Bonin's description. On the 28th of El Segundo, policewoman confronted Bonin, who had frightened a 16-year-old runaway who was present with him in his mother's vehicle. Timothy Wilson, noting Bonin's frantic state and similar profile to the rapist, she searched and handcuffed him. Bonin repeatedly advised her to incarcerate him before insisting he was not responsible for his actions. He was indicted on 5 accounts of kidnapping, 4 counts of sodomy, 1 count of oral copulation, and 1 count of child molestation against the 5 individuals he had abducted and assaulted or attempted to assault since the previous November. Bonin arrived at the El Segundo State Hospital on June 17th, year of 1979. He was subjected to a battery of psychiatric examinations, which revealed that he possessed an IQ of 121 and displayed traits of manic depression, sexual sadism disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. A physical examination revealed extensive scars on Bonin's head and buttocks, which he claimed to have no memory of obtaining, but were likely sustained in the Franco-American orphanage. In the year of 1971, Bonin was sent to California Medical Facility, having been declared unsuitable for further treatment due to repeated sexual engagement with inmates, 2 of whom were mentally challenged. This, as well as alienating and irritating fellow patients, resulted in Bonin being beaten on several occasions. Bonin was subject to further psychiatric examination, which dealt with hostility toward his father and older brother. It was noted that his sexual behaviors were compulsive in response to stress. He also sought to raise money for the family of any prisoner and reported applied willing for at least 1 treatment program. Bonin was released from prison on June 11th, year of 1974, after doctors concluded he was no longer a danger to health and safety of others. While cruising for young boys on the night of September 8th, the year of 1975, he encountered 14-year-old David Allen McVicker hitchhiking in Garden Grove. McVicker accepted Bonin's offer to drive him to his parents' home in Huntington Beach. Shortly after McVicker entered the car, Bonin asked him if he had engaged in homosexuality. McVicker replied that he had not. He asked to leave the vehicle, which prompted Bonin to accelerate. When McVicker attempted to leave, Bonin produced a gun and drove him to a deserted field. Bonin ordered him to undress and then beat and raped him. Bonin strangled him with his t-shirt and a tire iron. McVicker pleaded for his life. Bonin immediately stopped and apologized before reverting to casual conversation. He then drove McVicker to his home, stating on the way, "You know what? You're an all right guy. I was going to kill you, but I want to come back for you and use you again." Soon, McVicker phoned his mother, promptly informed Garden Grove police of the incident. On October 11th, 1975, Bonin was arrested for 2 assaults months later. Upon arrest, he informed law enforcement that next time there won't be any more witnesses. He was charged with rape and forcible oral copulation of a minor and the attempted abduction of a 15-year-old boy 2 days after Bonin's assault on McVicker. This second victim rejected Bonin's offer of $35 for sex before exiting Bonin's van and telling him to leave. In response, Bonin drove the van into the sidewalk and attempted to strike him. Bonin pleaded guilty to both charges, and on December 31st, the year of 1975, he was sentenced to serve 1 and 15 years of imprisonment at the California Men's Facility in San Luis Obispo. In the year of 1977, Bonin was subject to further psychiatric examination. It was indicated that sexual involvement with the boys related to his mother's micromanagement of his life. In March, the year of 1978, Bonin's father suffered a major stroke, presumably induced by alcoholic addiction, causing him to be hospitalized at the Long Beach Veterans Administration Hospital, where his mother worked as a vocational nurse. In prison, Bonin completed mathematics courses and training as a machinist in order to secure employment. He also showed significant progress in individual therapy sessions. As a result, he was released from detention on October 11th with 18 months served probation. Bonin usually selected young male hitchhikers, schoolboys, and occasionally male prostitutes as victims. The victims' ages were 12 to 19, were predominantly Caucasian or Latino, slender and pale, and long-haired. He either enticed or forced them into his Ford Ecoline van, where they were overpowered and had their limbs bound with a combination of handcuffs, wire, or cords. They were then sexually assaulted, extensively beaten, and tortured, before typically being killed by strangulation with their own t-shirts and a tire iron. Throughout all the years ahead of the murders that he did, based on Bonin's confessions, police obtained a warrant authorizing a search of Butt's Lakewood property on the same date as Bonin's initial arraignment. July 25th, search uncovered evidence linking Butts to several murders which Bonin had already confessed to. Butts was brought before municipal court on July 29th and charged with accompanying Bonin on 6 murders and with 3 counts of robbery. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department told the press, Bonin and Butts are believed to be responsible for the kidnapping, torture, and murder of at least 21 young males between May 1979 and June 1980, 14 of which had been committed in their jurisdiction. Bonin, while serving his years on death row, Bonin undertook painting and writing. He wrote a series of short stories called Doing Time, Stories from the Mind of a Death Row Prisoner. He became close friends with convicted murderers Lawrence Bittaker, Randy Craft, who shared the nickname the Freeway Killer, Douglas Clark, and Jimmy Lee Smith. He also corresponded with numerous individuals, including the mothers of some of his victims. To the mothers, he never expressed regret or remorse over the murders. Purposely withholding information his victims' families sought and seemingly deriving pleasure from their discontent. Bonin was informed the mother of Sean King that her son had been his favorite victim as he was such a great screamer. Bonin told his defense attorneys and several people with whom he corresponded that Butts had been the actual ringleader behind the murders and that he had simply been Butts' accomplice. These claims would be refuted by the prosecutor at Bonin's Los Angeles County murder trial, Sterling Norris, who said before Bonin's execution, he was the leader and he chose weak people he could use. Bonin was scheduled to be executed by lethal injection in the year of 1992, following the execution of Robert Alton Harris, the first inmate California executed since the year of 1967. Harris had exhibited evident symptoms of discomfort, including convulsions for up to 4 minutes throughout his 15 minutes in the gas chamber. As such, the state of California opted to use lethal injection as an alternate execution method, branding the gas chamber as cruel and unusual. Bonin was executed by lethal injection inside the gas chamber of San Quentin State Prison on February 23rd, 14 years after his first death sentence had been imposed. He was the first person to be executed by lethal injection in the history of California. Bonin was suspected of committing at least 21 murders and the killings for which he was convicted of.